The first speaker of this session, Dr. Suresh Shinde, is well known to all, the great clinician and role model for those who want to do research during their clinical practice. Sir is a thorough internist and has written a book too, and he is going to speak on fasting insulin and fasting.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Madam Chairman and co-chairpersons, for giving me an opportunity to speak to you. Fasting insulin and fasting glucose, my views. I have added a small word, futuristic views, depending upon the evidence that is available and depending upon a small amount of clinical work that I have done. Not many people are doing estimating fasting insulin in their practice. I am aware that the followers of Dr. Jagannath Dikshit, as you all must have come across, they are running around with their reports of fasting insulin. Is it really important to do fasting insulin in clinical practice? So that question I am trying to answer today. Fasting insulin and fasting glucose, two together, the multiplication product gives you the amount of insulin resistance that is present in that person. So you are aware that HOMA-IR is actually the multiplied product of glucose and insulin, fasting glucose and fasting insulin, and this 405 happens to be the multiplication product of 63 milligrams percent, that is the lowest possible blood sugar, and 6.5 microunits per unit of fasting insulin. So the multiplication comes to 405, that is the lowest multiplication of insulin resistance in a normal person. So when you compare with a patient with a normal person, you get a amount that is, if it is normal, then it should be 1, but in practice we take 2.5 as the upper limit of HOMA-IR. So what is the range of fasting insulin? Most of the laboratories, they quote from 2 to 23 microunits per ml, but these levels were defined pretty long ago when the insulin assays were not very specific. Even they were cross-reacting with pro-insulin. Now very sensitive assays are available, and it is also important that the laboratory which does this assay is very important. The time after which the assay is done is also important. If you are sending into some other lab, then the reports are likely to be much less. This slide you have already seen many times. The right half of this slide is the diabetes part, but what is also important is the left half of this slide, that is the pre-diabetes and also the pre-diabetes, as I call it. So this is the metabolic profile or a temporal profile of dysmetabolism. So diabetes is a part of dysmetabolism which starts much earlier, maybe 10-20 years before the diagnosis of diabetes is made. You have to appreciate from this slide that it is sugar level which is absolutely normal over the first part, that is the what I call as a pre-diabetes or hyperinsulinemic euglycemic period. That means in this period the insulin levels they go up, but the glucose levels are normal. The de novo lipogenesis goes up, the leptin levels goes up, and also the triglyceride levels goes up, and this is also the place where macrovascular complications also are seen. Then comes IGT and IGF, that is pre-diabetes, and followed by diabetes. So if I would say that if dysmetabolism were to be compared like a pregnancy, then diabetes, when we are treating it, is treating the dysmetabolism in its third trimester. So what we are treating when we are treating diabetes is the tip of the iceberg. In this slide I would like to show you that this is normal glucose, pre-diabetes and diabetes, as we have already seen. So when we treat diabetes, we are actually causing tertiary prevention. Some of us are also treating pre-diabetes, that is secondary prevention. But it is very unfortunate that we are not paying attention to primary prevention that is likely to be done when the glucoses are normal and the persons are only having obesity and dyslipidemia. So now I am going to make a statement that fasting insulin is a marker of obeso-lipodiabesity or a dysmetabolism. Then everyone in the hall is likely to ask me, where is the evidence? So I am going to run through some of the papers which are very recent. So this is a 2019 review which says that insulin resistance is the most important single cause of coronary artery disease. Another paper, this is a RCT which appeared in 2019. It says that insulin resistance is most important single predictor of coronary artery disease in type 2 diabetes. Now comes two papers in which it is without diabetes. So 2004 American Journal of Cardiology, fasting plasma insulin is related to restenosis after PTCA in patients without diabetes. So in without diabetes, the restenosis occurring in the stent implantation is related to fasting plasma insulin. 2012 a meta-analysis. What does the outcome say? Insulin resistance and increased risk of cardiovascular events in adults without diabetes. So insulin resistance is very much related to the increased risk of cardiovascular events. This is a little older but a important meta-analysis, 1996, but came in a prestigious New England Journal of Medicine. Hyperinsulinemia, an independent risk factor of ischemic heart disease. The fasting insulin compounds the risk with triglyceride to HDL ratio and apolipoproteins. The quantiles that they have used were less than 12 microunits, 12 to 15 and more than 15. In this slide you will appreciate the lower panel is the insulin levels 12, 12.5 and 15, and you will see that when it is combined with triglyceride the odds ratio is 6.7. In this slide there apolipoprotein the odds ratio jumps to even 11. So that is the importance of combining insulin levels with and interpreting them with the other factors. This is a very recent 2022 paper, a survey of 6,247 adults 18 to 44 years. Insulin resistance they have found in 4 out of 10 American adults have insulin resistance, and it is associated in clustering with hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, obesity and poor physical activity. Please listen that the cutoff here was 2.5 and many people, epidemiological people will say that 1.5, 1.7 should be the ideal cutoff, and if we lower the limit of insulin HOMA-IR from 2.7 to 2.5 to 1.7, you will find that this value will jump to even 5 or 6 in out of 10. In this slide again another this thing that shows that the quintiles of insulin, fasting insulin less than 11, 11 to 18 and more than 18, they are associated with increased incidence of cardiovascular disease. So the normal range of fasting insulin, which now all lab reports will give as 2 to 23, needs to be rationalized and the fasting insulin needs to be redefined. Therefore, looking at this evidence, it appears that 8 microunits per ml, that is from 6 to 10, appears to be more realistic. Now, over last 6 years, I have been doing oral glucose tolerance tests with insulin levels, and for that I have created this particular web application which I have programmed myself, and this web application is available at this site www.ogtt.in, which is a free for use and even everybody in the hall can use it for the benefit of their patients. I have studied about over 2,000 patients, newly diagnosed and screened patients, adults during last 6 years, and I have been presenting papers, abstracts and posters in ADA, EASD, RSSDI, Insulin India, Diabetes India and so many other conferences. The last one that I presented was 4 months ago in the World Congress of Insulin Resistance diabetes and cardiovascular disease, wherein I presented two posters. The one here that is shown is the total insulin resistance index to risk stratify dysglycemia and to define pre-diabetes. This is an example which I would like to show you of what is euglycemic hyperinsulinemia. So in this you will find that the fasting glucose, the OGTT glucose values are the 89.5 and 153, 160 and 89 or something. But the insulin levels are very high. In these graphs you will find that the green graph shows a normal expected and the red one is a glucose graph which is much below the expected glucose values. Whereas on the right side you have an insulin graph. The green graph is a normal one and the red one is the patient's graph. You will appreciate that the area under the curve for insulin graph is very high. Down below you have indices for all the insulin secretion, insulin resistance, beta cell function. So the fasting indices and the composite indices are also given automatically in this application, and it will also grade you, show you which category the patient belongs to. In this patient it is increased whole body insulin resistance, that is the report. This patient was a first degree relative of a known diabetic with a sedentary lifestyle. He was obese, BMI 31.6, fasting glucose was 89.5, postprandial fasting insulin was 18.77, normal glucose tolerance but with hyperinsulinemia, total cholesterol 260, HDL 35, triglycerides 300, leptin was 33, normal leptin values are 10. So here the leptin levels are very high. The leptin is again a surrogate marker for de novo lipogenesis or a visceral fat. So what are our reversal targets? So BMI, fasting plasma insulin, area under the curve of insulin and leptin. So what are the clinical applications of fasting insulin? So increased fasting insulin levels are seen in two cases. One is hereditary hepatic insulin resistance and also in carbohydrate excess de novo lipogenesis induced obesity, in which serum leptin levels are also increased. So the fasting levels, when we see in a patient, the fasting levels are increased. It could be a combination of a genetic increase in the fasting insulin plus an acquired obesity and acquired visceral obesity, which will be contributing to fasting insulin. So there are so many patients who are there who will be saying that my fasting insulin was so much, I reduced 10 kgs and now my fasting insulin is so much. So the whole YouTube and internet is filled up with all these reports of patients who are telling you about how they have improved their health. Low levels of fasting insulin are seen in advanced type 2 diabetes where there is beta cell function loss, and also in type 1 diabetes, LADA and chronic pancreatitis. It is so fasting insulin is a unique marker of dysmetabolism, that is metabolic syndrome, as well as the it is useful for estimation of HOMA-IR. It is a surrogate for visceral fat. It is important for monitoring diabetes reversal. It also risk stratifies the CV morbidity of a patient, and less than normal fasting plasma insulin gives you an opportunity to suggest to your patient the need for injectable insulin replacement. Thank you very much.